The Xylo's Intergalactic Tactical Academy, Zeta for short, was renowned across the galaxy as the most prestigious military training facility in existence. Situated on an artificial planetoid, its facilities were designed to accommodate and challenge cadets from hundreds of different species. The Academy prided itself on producing the finest tactical officers in the Galactic Alliance, individuals capable of handling any crisis across the diverse environments of known space. Commander Forlag stood on an observation platform, his scaled Kthar form towering over most of the other instructors. His reptilian eyes narrowed as he reviewed the latest batch of incoming cadets. The usual assortment was present: the glowing, chitin-armored Krillians with their remarkable sensory abilities, the massive four-armed Zorgans with strength that could bend structural alloys, the ethereal sylphs whose limited psionic abilities made them natural tacticians. But one name on his roster made his scaled brow ridge rise in surprise. A human, he rumbled, turning to Zeta Prime, the advanced AI that coordinated all training scenarios. "Correct, Commander," the AI's calm voice replied. "Cadet Alex Ryder from Earth. First human to qualify for Zeta admission." Forlag's tongue flicked out, a sign of skepticism among the Kthar. How did a species with no natural defenses, no enhanced senses, and average physical capabilities even pass the entrance exams? "Creative problem-solving abilities," Zeta Prime replied without inflection. "And persistence." Cadet Ryder failed the entrance exam 3 times before succeeding on the 4th attempt. "Persistence will not stop a plasma round," Forlag muttered. "Statistical likelihood of Cadet Ryder completing the full training regimen, 26.7%, added Zeta Prime. Forlag grunted in agreement. "Prepare the orientation course. Let's see what this human is made of." The 200 new cadets assembled in Zeta's primary auditorium, a vast chamber with seating designed to accommodate beings of all shapes and sizes. Alex Ryder sat in the middle section, trying not to appear intimidated. At 5 feet 10 inches and 170 pounds, the human was dwarfed by many of the other species. A towering Zorgan cadet sat to Alex's right, each of the aliens' forearms thicker than Alex's thigh. "Is this seat vacant?" came a melodic voice. Alex looked up to see a sylph hovering slightly above the floor. Her translucent skin had a faint bluish glow, and her large iridescent eyes studied Alex with unabashed curiosity. "Go ahead," Alex replied with a smile. The sylph settled gracefully into the seat. "I am Tlani. You are human, correct? I've never encountered your species before." "Alex Ryder. And yes, first human at Zeta, apparently." Tlani tilted her head. "Fascinating. Your species has no external protective features. How do you survive?" Before Alex could respond, the massive Zorgan to the right let out a booming laugh. "Good question. Look how small and soft." One enormous hand reached over and prodded Alex's shoulder, nearly knocking the human over. Sorry, the Zorgan apologized, steadying Alex with another massive hand. "A.M. Gronk. Not no own strength sometimes." Alex managed a smile. "Nice to meet you both." Any further conversation was cut short as Commander Forlag strode onto the central platform. The entire auditorium fell silent. "Welcome to the Xylo's Intergalactic Tactical Academy," Forlag began, his deep voice carrying effortlessly. "You represent the finest specimens from your respective worlds. But that means nothing here. At Zeta, you are untested, unproven, and, frankly, unwanted until you demonstrate otherwise." Forlag paced across the platform, his gaze sweeping the assembled cadets. "Today begins your orientation. You will face your first challenge, the energy wall. It is a simple test of endurance and determination. Those who cannot overcome even this basic obstacle have no place at this academy." The energy wall turned out to be a 15-foot-high barrier of shimmering blue energy. The cadets lined up before it, with Alex finding himself positioned between Tlani and Gronk. Ahead of them, a young Kthar cadet who had introduced himself with obvious disdain as Rax strode confidently toward the wall. As Rax approached, the energy barrier intensified, emitting a high-pitched hum. The Kthar's scales seemed to bristle, but he pushed through, his natural armor providing protection against the energy field's effects. He emerged on the other side with a triumphant hiss. Tlani went next, her sylph abilities allowing her to partially phase through the denser portions of the energy field. Though she winced several times, she crossed without much difficulty. Then came Gronk, who simply powered through with brute Zorgon strength, barely seeming to notice the energy field's effects. When Alex's turn came, Commander Forlag moved closer to observe. The moment Alex stepped into the energy field, a sensation like thousands of tiny needles pricking every inch of skin made the human gasp. The field was clearly calibrated for species with natural armor or enhanced resistance. For human skin, it was excruciating. Alex took another step, then another, teeth gritted in determination. Halfway through, the pain intensified, and Alex stumbled, nearly falling. As expected, Forlag commented loudly enough for nearby cadets to hear. The human's surprising fragility makes even this basic test a significant challenge. Alex's face flushed with a mixture of pain and determination. With a deep breath, the human pushed forward again, one agonizing step after another. By the time Alex emerged on the other side, sweat soaked through the oversized Zeta uniform, and small red welts covered exposed skin. Completed in 47 seconds, Zeta Prime announced. Considerably slower than average, but within acceptable parameters. Barely, Forlag added, though something in his expression suggested mild surprise that the human had completed the challenge at all. The next few days brought a relentless series of physical and tactical training exercises. Alex struggled through most of them, finishing near the bottom of every performance ranking. The gravity in most training areas was set to 1.5 g, comfortable for many species but taxing for a human. Obstacle courses designed for beings with multiple limbs or natural climbing abilities left Alex exhausted and bruised. After a particularly grueling session in the Howling Canyon simulation, where artificial wind forces exceeded 80 miles per hour, Alex slumped against a wall in the recovery area, catching breath that came in ragged gasps. "How you not broken yet, small human?" Gronk asked, plopping down beside Alex with enough force to make the floor vibrate. Alex managed a tired smile. "Sometimes I wonder that myself." Tlani drifted over, her expression curious. "You employ unusual techniques. In the canyon simulation, you use the terrain configurations to create windbreaks that none of the larger cadets could utilize. Have to get creative when you can't just power through," Alex replied, taking a long drink from hydration pack. "An interesting approach," came a cold voice. Rax stood nearby, his scaled body showing no signs of fatigue. "But creativity won't save you in the combat trials tomorrow." The combat training drones were programmed to adapt to each species' capabilities. For the naturally armored or physically superior cadets, the drones employed higher power settings and more aggressive tactics. Alex watched as Rax, with his natural Kthar reflexes and armored hide, dispatched 3 drones in impressive fashion. When Alex's turn came, the human approached the center of the combat arena with visible trepidation. Forlag adjusted the drone settings personally. Standard human configuration, he instructed Zeta Prime. No physical advantages to account for. The first drone activated, advancing rapidly. Alex dodged its initial strike, but the second attack caught the human on the shoulder, sending Alex tumbling across the arena floor. The drone pressed its advantage, but Alex rolled aside at the last moment, causing the drone to overextend its attack vector. As the machine recalibrated, Alex spotted something. A small gap in the armor plating near the drone's joint connector. It was minuscule, something the larger, stronger cadets would never need to exploit. With precise timing, Alex feinted left, then drove a fist directly into the vulnerable spot. The drone froze, its systems temporarily disabled. The arena fell silent. "Impressive," Zeta Prime commented. Cadet Ryder identified a structural vulnerability that 94.3% of cadets overlook due to their emphasis on overwhelming force. Forlag's expression remained stern, but he studied the human with slightly more interest than before. Proceed to the next level. By the end of the third week, Alex had established a pattern. Never the fastest, never the strongest, always bruised and exhausted, but consistently finding ways to complete each challenge through observation and adaptation. The human's uniform was perpetually stained with sweat, occasionally blood from minor injuries, but Alex never requested medical attention for what were dismissed as just scratches. Tlani had become something of an ally, occasionally offering insights based on her self-perceptions that helped Alex identify environmental advantages. Gronk, while still accidentally knocking Alex over at least once per day, had developed a protective attitude toward the smaller human. Fascinating species, Tlani remarked to Gronk as they watched Alex methodically work through a tactical simulation that favored beings with enhanced visual spectrum capabilities. Always at a disadvantage, yet refuses to acknowledge defeat. Human small, but as big. What word? Spirit? Heart. Gronk flexed all four of his massive arms in frustration at his limited vocabulary. Determination, Tlani suggested, though I sense there's something more we're missing. The fourth week brought the most challenging exercise yet, Operation Red Meteor. Cadets were divided into teams to navigate through a partially collapsed complex filled with simulated hazards, unstable structures, smoke, electrical discharges, and hidden objectives. Alex was assigned to a team with Tlani, Gronk, Rax, and two other cadets, a Krillian named Ziv whose chitinous exoskeleton glowed softly in the darkness, and a methane-breathing Xylotian named Mrock who resembled an upright cephalopod. Our objective is to retrieve the hostage simulation unit from the central chamber, Rax stated, automatically assuming leadership. The most direct route is through the main corridor. That seems inadvisable, Alex suggested, studying the structural layout displayed in their briefing materials. According to these readings, the main corridor has multiple unstable ceiling segments. Rax made a dismissive sound. My scales can withstand minor debris. Not all of us are as fragile as humans. Perhaps we should consider all perspectives. Tlani intervened diplomatically. What alternative do you suggest, Alex? Alex pointed to a narrow maintenance shaft on the schematic. This route bypasses the worst instabilities. It's tight but navigable. For you, perhaps, Rax scoffed. Some of us have actual armor to consider. In the end, they compromised with Rax leading Gronk and Mrock through the main corridor while Alex, Tlani, and Ziv took the maintenance route. They would rendezvous at Junction Point Theta before proceeding to the objective. The exercise began with Zeta Prime's calm countdown. As Alex's team crawled through the cramped maintenance shaft, distant rumblings suggested the simulated structural collapse was already underway. Emergency lighting bathed everything in an eerie red glow. The electrical interference is affecting my perception, Tlani whispered, her natural luminescence flickering slightly. Stay close, Alex replied. Ziv, can your exoskeleton provide any additional light? The Krillian nodded, increasing the bioluminescent output of his chitin until it cast a pale blue glow that complemented the emergency lighting. They emerged from the shaft into a larger corridor just before Junction Theta, only to find their path blocked by a collapsed support beam. No sign of the others, Ziv chittered anxiously. They should have been here already. Alex activated the team communicator. Rax, what's your position? Static crackled. Then Rax's voice came through, punctuated by the sound of falling debris. Main corridor, unstable than anticipated. Gronk is clearing a path, but progress is slow. Mrock has suffered minor damage to his environmental suit. We'll try to reach you, Alex decided. Tlani, can you sense any safe passage through this debris? The sylph closed her eyes, extending her limited psionic awareness. There's a narrow gap. Yes, I believe we can pass through there. She pointed to a small opening between fallen support structures. They had just started to navigate the obstacle when Zeta Prime's voice came over the facility-wide communication system. Attention, all cadets. Simulation difficulty increased. Structural integrity at 60% and declining. Additional seismic event commencing in 3, 2, 1. The entire complex shuddered violently. Alex lost footing as the floor seemed to ripple. Above them, the already damaged ceiling began to give way with a grinding metallic screech. "Move!" Alex shouted, pushing Tlani forward. The sylph stumbled, momentarily disoriented by the sudden movement and the interference with her senses. Alex looked up to see a massive section of the ceiling, a reinforced metal alloy panel weighing at least half a ton, tearing free directly above where Tlani stood frozen in confusion. Without hesitation, Alex lunged forward, shoving Tlani with all available strength. The sylph went airborne, propelled safely beyond the danger zone by the force of Alex's push. Alex tried to follow, but the ceiling collapsed too quickly. The massive panel crashed down, catching Alex's right shoulder and arm with devastating force. Sharp metal fragments from shattered support beams pierced through the human's uniform into the left leg. The impact reverberated through the corridor, followed by an eerie moment of silence broken only by falling dust and the sound of smaller debris settling. "Alex!" Tlani's voice was thick with panic. In the monitoring center, warning indicators flashed across Zeta Prime's displays. Medical emergency detected. Cadet injuries exceed safety parameters. Severity assessment. Critical for human physiology. Commander Forlag's scales paled slightly as he viewed the readings. "Deploy medical team Alpha immediately," he ordered, already moving toward the exit. "I'll assess the situation personally." Back in a collapsed corridor, Tlani and Ziv scrambled toward the debris where Alex had disappeared. Gronk's team, hearing the commotion, had changed course and now burst through a side passage, the massive Zorgon using all four arms to clear obstacles with frantic speed. "Human friend, we're human friend," Gronk bellowed. From beneath the massive panel came a pained groan. Then, astonishingly, movement, the panel shifted slightly. "Here," came Alex's strained voice. "I'm here." Tlani reached the debris first, her slender form allowing her to navigate the tight space. What she saw made her gasp. Alex was pinned partially beneath the fallen ceiling section, right arm bent at an unnatural angle. Blood seeped through the uniform where a jagged metal fragment had embedded itself in the human's thigh. Yet somehow, Alex was conscious and attempting to push away smaller debris with the uninjured left arm. "Don't move," Tlani urged. "Medical assistance is coming." "Help me up," Alex countered, wincing with every word. "Need to finish the exercise." "Impossible," Rack stated, having joined them. For once, his voice lacked its usual disdain, replaced by something approaching concern. "Your injuries are severe." Gronk pushed forward, carefully lifting the metal panel enough for Ziv and Tlani to pull Alex free. The human's face was ashen beneath a layer of dust and grime, lips pressed into a tight line that couldn't quite suppress occasional gasps of pain. The sound of approaching footsteps announced the arrival of Commander Forlag and the medical team. The commander stopped abruptly at the sight of Alex's injuries, his normally impassive reptilian features showing unmistakable shock. "Medical evacuation, priority 1, ordered. Prepare the surgical unit." The Xylashian chief medical officer, Dr. Vellum, was already scanning Alex with advanced diagnostic equipment. "Multiple severe injuries detected," he reported, his tentacles manipulating the scanner with practiced precision. "Comminuted fracture of the clavicle, compound fracture of the humerus, severe muscle tears, penetrating wound to the quadriceps femoris with possible vascular involvement." The medical team moved to transfer Alex onto a hover stretcher. To everyone's astonishment, Alex pushed away their hands. "Can stand," the human insisted through gritted teeth. "Cadet, that is inadvisable," Forlag stated firmly. "Your injuries just need a minute," Alex interrupted, already attempting to sit up despite the obvious agony the movement caused. Tlani placed a gentle hand on Alex's uninjured shoulder. "Alex, please, you saved me. Now, let us help you." Alex looked at her, then at the concerned faces of the other cadets. Even Rax seemed genuinely worried. After a moment, the human nodded slightly. But instead of lying back on the stretcher, Alex reached out to Gronk. "Help me up?" "Just a stand." The Zorgan looked uncertainly at Commander Forlag, who was too stunned by the request to immediately object. Taking the silence as permission, Gronk carefully supported Alex into a standing position. Once upright, Alex swayed alarmingly, face draining of what little color remained. Without warning, the human reached down and, before anyone could intervene, pulled the metal shard from the leg wound with a single sharp motion. Dr. Vellum's tentacles curled in shock. That is absolutely not recommended medical procedure. Alex stared at the bloodied metal fragment for a moment, then let it drop to the floor. Needed to come out eventually, the human said, as if this explained everything. Using Gronk's massive arm for support, Alex took a tentative step forward. Blood immediately began soaking through the uniform pants, and the right arm hung uselessly, but the human remained standing. A walking staff would help, Alex suggested, as casually as if requesting a training accessory. Everyone stared in disbelief until Gronk, seemingly the only one able to process the request, broke a thin metal rod from the nearby debris and offered it as a makeshift cane. "Thank you," Alex said, accepting it with a good arm. "Medical bay is this way, right?" And to the complete astonishment of everyone present, Alex Ryder began limping toward the exit, leaving a trail of blood droplets on the floor. After several paces, the human turned back to the still frozen group. "Coming? I'd like to review the exercise footage after they patch me up. Need to see where we went wrong with the route planning." The medical bay of Zeta was equipped with the most advanced healing technologies from dozens of worlds. Dr. Vellum and his diverse medical team hovered around Alex like a swarm of concerned insects, their diagnostic equipment producing a symphony of alarm beeps and warnings. "These readings cannot be correct," muttered a Betelgeusian nurse, her compound eyes blinking rapidly as she recalibrated her scanner. "No species should be ambulatory with this injury profile." Commander Forlag stood at the periphery of the medical bay, watching the proceedings with uncharacteristic silence. Zeta Prime's holographic interface materialized beside him. "Commander, initial analysis suggests Cadet Ryder has sustained injuries that would incapacitate 98.7% of known sentient species. Yet the cadet remained conscious and mobile. I am updating human resilience parameters in my database. Is there an explanation?" Forlag asked quietly. "Several possibilities exist," the AI responded. "Human pain threshold may differ significantly from our understanding. Alternatively, psychological factors may be overriding physical limitations. Most probable conclusion: humans possess previously unquantified resilience factors." Dr. Vellum approached, his tentacles writhing in agitation. "Commander, the human refuses our standard treatment protocols. We recommended immediate nanoregenerative therapy for the bone fractures and synthetic muscle grafting, but Cadet Ryder insists on, and I quote, just setting the bones, stitching up the leg, and some mild pain management. In your medical opinion?" "Frankly, incomprehensible. These minimal interventions will extend recovery time by weeks, possibly months." Yet when I explained this, the cadet simply asked how soon physical therapy could begin. Forlag's scale brow furrowed. "Allow me to speak with Cadet Ryder." He found Alex propped up on a medical bed, the injured arm now immobilized in a basic splint rather than the advanced regeneration chamber the medical team had prepared. The leg wound had been cleaned and sealed with 27 microsutures. Despite these grievous injuries, Alex was studying a data pad displaying the schematics of the collapsed training area. "Cadet Ryder," Forlag began, struggling to keep astonishment from his voice. "Dr. Vellum informs me you are declining recommended medical procedures." Alex looked up. "With respect, Commander, I don't need all that. Basic treatment is sufficient. You have multiple bone fractures and severe tissue damage." "Yes, sir. They'll heal in approximately 8 to 12 weeks, according to medical projections. Advanced treatment could reduce that to days." Alex shrugged with the uninjured shoulder. "Honestly, sir, I'll be back in training well before 8 weeks. Humans are pretty good at healing if you just give us time and don't fuss too much." Forlag stared at the human, genuinely perplexed. "You pushed a sylph out of danger, knowing you would likely be severely injured in her place. Anyone would have done the same. No, Cadet, they would not. Forlag's tone was contemplative. In my 40 years as an instructor, I have observed that most species act first to preserve themselves, especially when their natural defenses are limited. Alex seemed uncomfortable with this observation. I just reacted, sir. Plani is my teammate. Indeed, Forlag studied the human for a long moment. Rest, Cadet. We will discuss your return to training when Dr. Vellum clears you for duty. As Forlag turned to leave, Alex called after him. Sir, can I get the video feeds from today's exercise? I want to analyze where we went wrong on our approach strategy. The Cathar commander stopped, looking back at the injured human with newfound respect. I believe that can be arranged, Cadet. News of a human cadet who had walked off, life-threatening injuries spread through Zeta like wildfire. During Alex's recovery, a steady stream of curious visitors found excuses to pass by the medical bay. Plani and Gronk became regular fixtures at Alex's bedside, with even Rax stopping by occasionally with awkward attempts at conversation. To everyone's astonishment, Alex began physical therapy exercises just 3 days after the accident. Dr. Vellum nearly tied himself in knots, literally, given his tentacled physiology, trying to prevent what he considered a medical abomination. The bone fusion has barely initiated, he protested as Alex performed careful range-of-motion exercises with the injured arm. You risk permanent damage. Actually, movement promotes healing in humans, Alex explained patiently. As long as I don't put weight on it yet, controlled motion helps. The medical staff began documenting every aspect of Alex's recovery process, fascinated by the human's seemingly illogical but effective approach to rehabilitation. Zeta Prime continuously updated its human physiological database, adding numerous annotations about inexplicable recovery rates and pain tolerance exceeding all projected models. By the end of the second week, Alex was walking without assistance, the leg wound having closed faster than any of the medical staff predicted. By the fourth week, the arm was out of its sling, though not yet ready for weight-bearing exercises. 6 weeks after the accident, in half the time Dr. Vellum had predicted even with advanced treatment, Alex Ryder returned to full training duties, sporting new scar on the thigh and occasionally favoring the right arm during particularly strenuous activities. Commander Forlag personally supervised Alex's first combat training session back, watching intently as the human methodically worked through drills at 80% normal speed, compensating for the not quite fully healed injuries with adjusted techniques. Your medical recovery defies explanation, Cadet, Forlag commented afterward. Alex smiled slightly. Not really, sir. Humans have been getting injured and recovering for thousands of years. We're kind of used to it. Used to it, Forlag repeated, testing the phrase. An interesting concept. Most species evolve to avoid injury altogether. We evolved to survive it, Alex replied simply. Not everything can be avoided. The final months of training saw a remarkable transformation, not just in Alex, but in the entire Academy's approach. Zeta Prime began incorporating human factors into its training scenarios, challenges that required adaptability and resilience rather than just strength or natural abilities. Tactical simulations now included options that favored creative problem-solving over brute force. Alex, no longer viewed as the fragile oddity, became a sought-after training partner. Plani and Gronk remained closest allies, but even Rax had developed a grudging respect, occasionally seeking Alex's input on tactical approaches. On graduation day, the 200 cadets who had started at Zeta had been reduced to 168. They assembled one final time in the auditorium where their journey had begun. Commander Forlag stood on the central platform, his imposing figure somehow less intimidating to them now. You came to this academy as representatives of your species, he began. You graduate today as representatives of something greater, the diverse strength of our galactic alliance. Each of you has proven your value, not just through your natural abilities, but through your growth, adaptability, and teamwork. One by one, the cadets were called forward to receive their graduation insignia. When Alex Rider's name was announced, a noticeable hush fell over the auditorium. Commander Forlag gestured for Alex to stand before him. Cadet Rider. Forlag's voice carried throughout the chamber. You arrived at this academy as the first human ever to qualify. Many, myself included, doubted whether your species possessed the necessary attributes to succeed here. Alex stood at attention, face impassive. Today, I acknowledge that those doubts represented a failure of imagination. Forlag held up a small object that glinted in the light, a medallion unlike the standard graduation insignia. This is the spirit of Xylo's medal. It has never before been awarded in the history of this institution. It recognizes exceptional courage, resilience, and the embodiment of qualities that transcend species-specific advantages. As Forlag placed the medallion around Alex's neck, he continued, Your actions during Operation Red Meteor demonstrated that true strength is not merely physical. In your recovery, your insistence on walking it off, as humans apparently say, has forced this academy to re-evaluate its understanding of resilience. The Cthar commander straightened to his full impressive height. Your legacy at Zeta, Cadet Rider, is not just as the first human graduate. It is as the cadet who taught us all that we must never judge capability by appearance alone, and that sometimes the most unassuming exterior houses the most indomitable spirit. The auditorium erupted in thunderous applause, with Gronk's four-armed clapping creating a minor sonic disturbance. Later, as the newly graduated officers celebrated, Tlani found Alex examining the spirit of Xylo's medal thoughtfully. A well-deserved honor, she said softly. Alex smiled. I still think it's a bit much for just doing what needed to be done. That is precisely why you deserve it, Tlani replied. To you, pushing me out of danger and then walking off injuries that would cripple most species was simply doing what needed to be done. The rest of us are still trying to comprehend such humanity. Gronk joined them, one massive arm carefully patting Alex's now-healed shoulder. What human do next? Stay. As instructor? Go home. Gronk missed small friend to leave. Actually, Alex said, I've been offered a position with the Tactical Response Division. They seem to think the human perspective might be valuable. The academy will never be the same, came Rax's voice as he approached. The young Cthar had grown considerably during their training, his scales now bearing the distinctive patterns of maturity. Zeta Prime has already announced changes to the training programs based on what they're calling the Rider Protocols, emphasizing adaptability alongside strength. As the celebration continued around them, Commander Forlag observed from a distance. Zeta Prime's holographic interface appeared beside him. Final assessment of human capabilities, Commander, the AI inquired. Forlag watched as Alex laughed at something Gronk said, the human's face animated and showing no trace of the pain that must have been endured during the long months of recovery. My assessment, Forlag said thoughtfully, is that we still don't fully understand them, but I would not bet against their success. He paused, then added with newfound respect, especially when they claim it's just a scratch.